Welcome to Unstoppable, where dreams turn into plans and plans turn into powerful action. Hosted by Paula Swain, financial planner, business owner, grandma, and queen of reinvention. This show is for women ready to stop surviving and start thriving. We'll laugh, we'll learn, and we'll tackle the messy, beautiful, in-between parts of life that no one really talks about, but we all live through. This is Unstoppable.
Hi, and welcome to Unstoppable. I'm Paula Swain, your host and financial planner for the Financial Center for Women. I believe in a lot of different things and have often reached out to psychics or mediums to help me work through some transitions in my life and to maybe get some help with some clarity. So I have worked with our guest today, Lynn Darmon. She helped me, I don't know, it was about 3 years ago we talked?
3 years ago.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I remember you saying to me that I would be going on a trip that had hills and green grass, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I did. I went and spent 3 weeks in Italy.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I did.
That's amazing.
Hold on. I'm like, oh, she was right. She was
so
right.
funny.
She was right.
That's great.
So
That's
how
great.
did you know you had this gift?
So Paula, first of all, thanks so much for having me
you're
on your show today. I'm really grateful, and it's so great to see you again. So I was really young when I first, became, I guess, familiar with this. I was about 4 years old. That's my earliest memory. It was one morning I woke up and I was just really upset because I came to the knowledge that my grandfather had passed away in the night, and he lived in another country, and so I felt like I had to give my mother the news. I had to tell her, and I was crying and I was very upset. But I have a real clear memory, and she was trying to calm me down, and I said, no, Grandpa died. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Mommy, I'm sorry. And she said, you just had a bad dream. You had a nightmare. And about a couple hours later, she got a telegram that her dad had passed away. So it was that young. And through my life, through my youth, early elementary school years, junior high, high school, into college, it was always a part of my life. But I never really paid a lot of attention to it. I just thought it was part of life.
What made you pay attention to it?
So there were some things that came up that really got my attention. And looking back now, I think that the spirit world, the spirit had always been trying to get my attention, and I kept ignoring. I remember clearly one day in high school, my brother and I have a brother who's a year older. My brother and I were getting ready to start the school year, over, and it was in the fall, and we were getting our school supplies together, and I had everything I needed except a lock for my gym locker. And so I went to my brother's room, and he's getting his backpack together, and I said, Paul, do you have an extra lock? Like that. I said, I forgot to get one. And he said, he pulled one out of his drawer. He goes, here, I found this one outside. I found it on the front lawn. And he tossed it to me. And he goes, if you can open it, you can have it. And I remember holding the lock in my hand and saying 3 numbers out loud, spinning the lock, and it opened.
Wow.
And I remembered how freaked out I got, in that moment. And I think, that's just one of the small incidences that happened. Like I said, was trying to get my attention. But it wasn't until much later that there was something that happened with my daughter when she was born, and that really got my attention. My daughter was 14 days old. Into my last trimester of my pregnancy, I had a normal pregnancy. Everything was fine. And my last trimester, I started getting agitated and restless, like something was going to happen. And she was about a week old when I said, I can't ignore this feeling anymore. I'm going to take her to a hospital. And I took her to an emergency room right away. And they checked her out, and they said, she's okay, And I said, they said there's nothing wrong with her. And I said, you know, it doesn't
Mother's
feel right.
instinct, yeah.
Yeah, mother's intuition is really, really strong for anyone. And so we brought her home, and I called my pediatrician, and I said, I really feel like she needs to be in the hospital when something is going to happen to her. So he was amazing. He was an amazing pediatrician, and he encouraged it. You know, he goes, Lynn, take her back. So I took her to a different hospital, and they agreed to keep her overnight. And the very next day, they came in with the discharge papers, and they did all kinds of tests and blood work, and they said, we can't find anything wrong with your daughter. Here are the discharge papers, and I refused to sign them. And I said, no, because when she gets sick, she has to be here, or I'm going to lose her. Oh. And so they said, okay, we understand you're suffering from postpartum depression, probably postpartum psychosis. And I have a background in psych also, so I said, I understand that and I respect that, but I just have this really, really strong feeling. So I said, that's fine, bring the psychiatrist in. They're gonna do a psych eval, that's fine, because I figured it would give me more time.
Right.
Well, in the interim, before the psychiatrist came up to talk to me, another doctor came in, and he looked at me and he said, you're so sure there's something wrong with your daughter. Why don't you tell me what it is before I examine her? And she was in a bed, you know, she was all of this, 5 pounds. And I looked at her and she looked at me. We had direct eye contact. And I said, something in her abdomen, she needs to have a CAT scan right now. And he said, well, it's 5 o'clock. All the radiologists have gone home, but okay, you know, we'll see what we can do. We'll do it in the morning. And I said, we can't wait till morning. It has to be now.
Wow.
And so he said, fine. Like, he listened, and we took her downstairs, and they did a CAT scan. And I would say within about an hour and a half of that, she was in surgery. So
wow.
She had a peritonitis, which is toxic fluid built up in the abdomen. They didn't know why. They didn't know if it was a ruptured appendix. They didn't know. It turned out it was a ruptured colon, or a punctured colon. And so they had to remove part of her colon. And it was a long process after that. She had several more surgeries. And thank God today she's great.
Well, and thank God you have that gift, because she wouldn't likely be here, right?
So that was quite a lesson. That's what, I guess that was like what I call my pivotal moment, my awakening. And I thought of all these other things that had happened up until that point, and I thought, I need to pay attention. I need to find out what this is. And I started to educate myself. So it's almost like, the best way I can describe it, it's almost like knowing a language that you've known your whole life, and then going back and learning the grammar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely have to do that with English.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm horrible at the English language.
So that was a pivotal moment for me.
That's an amazing story. I mean, it's like, because if you wouldn't have done anything, if you didn't have that gift or that intuition, then, you know, it could have had a different outcome.
It could have been, but I really believe, Paula, that all of us have intuition. I don't really look at it as a gift as much as like more of an ability maybe later on, but we're all born with intuition. We all have a soul. And if you have a soul, you have intuition. We have a part of us that remains in heaven when we come to earth. And I always say I don't want to ever impose my belief system on anyone, but it's just what I've learned along the way. When we come here, we still have a piece of us that is in heaven, in the spirit realm, and that's our higher self. That's the self, the higher self that speaks to us.
Okay.
The inclinations we get, the feelings that we get. You walk into a room and something doesn't feel right.
Right.
It's because it isn't, and you leave. You know, so you're walking down the street and you're about to make a left turn, and something tells you, you know what, I think I'm going to go up a block, and then I'll make a left turn. That's your intuition. It's constantly speaking to us.
I had, funny that we were talking about this, I had a situation this last weekend where I wasn't following my gut. Mm-hmm. And so oddly, I just kept having deer run across me, like just run in front of me and run in front of me. And I'm like, what's this all about? So I hit the internet, frequent seeing of deer, and it's like, follow your intuition.
There you go.
And I was like, okay, I get it. It was like, it just kept telling, it's just like, I said, if I didn't follow it, because I did end up following it and solve that issue, but I was like, oh my God, is the deer just going to run in front of a car just to say, wake up, Paula, you need to make this decision. You need to get this person out of your life.
Yeah, 100%. How many of us, and me too, how many of us say, God, I wish I had listened the first time. Why didn't I listen to myself? Why didn't I listen to my gut? And so
right, yeah, but we don't though.
Right, it's part. Right,
yeah, we just don't.
That's part of the human. Yeah. That's what I call part of the human experience. That's part of our souls traveling through this human experience, and that's part of the human experience. Learning to trust, learning to believe in a higher self, a higher power, the spirit world.
Yeah, I say we're a spiritual being in a human body.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah,
that's what we are.
If you really sit and through meditation or if it's walking, whatever you do, you can just sit and then listen to yourself, and your body tells you so much about what's going on. I was talking to a woman the other day who went through this horrific divorce, and she said once he moved out and she started to focus on herself, her neck pain was gone, her stomach pain was gone, her joint pain was gone. It was her body saying, you need to do something.
Right.
And so finally when she did it, that stuff went all away.
Sure. And we do have our body, we have energy centers in our body. And if things are not in alignment with us, it will affect us physically.
Let me ask you this question, because I think about it a lot, and I meditate on it, and and do the visions about the energy of your future self. Like if you're to live today as your future self, like you already see yourself in that. And like I hear what they're saying, and I'm really, really working hard on it. But, but how does like the day-to-day things that happen in your life that might take you out of that energy and then getting you back in, like how are you supposed to work with the energy that you're talking about?
Right, so it's all about balance. I know exactly what you're talking about, because they say as you want to try to manifest what you want in life, right? You have to put yourself, your future self, in the present. What does it feel like? What does it look like? What are the details? What are the finer details? Write about it, in the present.
Right.
But then in the present, we have things we have to deal with today. And so it's balance. It is balance. I always tell people, or I try to live by this myself, don't chase your future. Let it come to you. I think that we are so consumed by, we achieve a goal and we're so consumed by how far we have left to go that we often have to just take a pause, look in the rearview mirror, see how far we've come, plant the seed for what we want. It's balance. It's balance. Remaining present, establishing your goals, seeing yourself in that goal, in the present, to manifest that. If that makes sense. It's a little confusing.
It does make sense. It does, but then I think about, because I've manifested a lot and made a lot of things happen. I mean, even Joan, who's my guest next week, we manifested this like a few years ago. Like we did this, and this TV show, and and I manifested my house, and I my career and everything. But like there's like things like you can believe that you have it. Like I believe that I have all the money I can spend and donate. But then there's some things that in my life that I'm like, why can't that one come true? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I know you're supposed to feel like you have it already, and sometimes that just a little tiny doubt, or a friend might say, well, that's not gonna happen, or how much longer are you gonna wait, or
Right, I know exactly what you're saying. So I think that when we want to manifest something, I think that when we see something for our future, we want to, we talked about, you talk about what is unstoppable, okay? What are the limitations that we put on ourselves that are just an illusion? It's just an illusion. We're the ones that place those limitations on ourselves. We're the ones that say, if somebody applies for a job and they say, I hope I get this job. That person is then opening up the possibility that they may not.
Yes.
When they say, passing a test, taking a test to pass. I hope I pass this test. Well, you know what? You may not, because you're opening
Your
the door.
subconscious is saying, nope, you're not going to.
Exactly. The universe doesn't label things good or bad. We're the ones that do. So all the universe hears is like, well, you may not. So okay, throw the dice. So when we put ourselves in that space of there is no other alternative. There isn't what if I don't? What if? But it's again part of the human journey.
Yeah,
go through that.
That's a tough journey, because you think about, and I try to do this myself with, my gratitude in the morning and the things that I do, and now seeing myself in that future self and as if I already have it. And I learned this thing the other day that, when I go like this and smile, if you ever see me do it now, it means I'm expecting something wonderful to happen.
That's amazing.
So those are things that I kind of do for myself.
That's amazing. That is fabulous. So the thing is, Paul, so the difference with, for example, with you and the next person is that you're very self-aware. You know that there's this whole other piece that is not in the 3D world. It is part of the 3D world, but we're so limited in our beliefs sometimes,
Well, we're told. I mean, not to, children when they're born, they have so many, their imagination and their dreams are amazing. And then as they get older, we stifle that. And that's what we really need to be going in our life, is to be dreaming those things and using your imagination. Because I truly, truly believe you can have everything you want in this life.
100%.
If you believe it, you feel it, and then you take steps.
100%. And I am so glad that you actually brought up children, because I work with parents with children, and every generation that comes in is more evolved than the generation before. And these children that are coming in right now are so incredibly enlightened, so intuitive. And I tell parents, especially I am a medium, so especially working with the spirit world and working with people who have lost, their loved ones, and their loved ones who have crossed over, and communicating with their loved ones from heaven. But I always tell them, when they say, how can I communicate, without a medium? And listening listening to your own intuition, looking for the signs or receiving the signs. Don't doubt it. But also children. These children are little mini oracles. They are, and I tell parents with young children, listen to what your child says, because they will receive a message and they will deliver the message before, from your loved ones, before anybody else. And then the thing is between the ages of 0 and 5, these kids who are still very connected to the spirit world, they're very in tune with it. And I always tell parents, encourage it. Don't tell them it's their imagination. Don't push them either. Let it come natural. Right. But around the age of 5 is when, children, they start full day kindergarten. They become much more socially engaged, and so it starts to go away a little bit. It dissipates. It never goes away. It just kind of gets buried. So I love that you brought up children, because they're like these little miniature oracles. They're amazing.
I remember this incident when my youngest son, Zach, was under 5, I believe, and I walked into his room and he was talking to someone. And I'm like, who are you talking to? And he said, I'm talking to Grandma Jen, which was my grandma, who was so, so dear to me. And her name is Virginia. How did he know to call her Jen? Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't picking up conversations. I mean, sadly we don't talk often about her. We probably
Right.
should more. But I was like, whoa.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
Oh, it's so
they
cool.
see spirit, they talk to spirit, they play with them. We think parents often think that they have an imaginary friend, and believe me, they're not imaginary.
Yeah. Could we just have that as an adult? I mean, that would be so cool to have that. I mean, I talk to my loved ones that have passed as
they
much
hear
as
you.
I can, and sometimes when I need advice, I'll be like, Dad, help me, and I do. I get the answers.
Yes.
But I'm open enough to listen for
Yes.
them and to recognize them.
That's the whole difference. The difference is that you are aware, you are self-aware, you're open to it, and a lot of what I do also with clients is education is really important to me. It's very important to me that people begin to, especially in this day and age when it's turmoil. There's turmoil in our planet and in our country, and to expand their consciousness around this, to become more aware, to open to it. And the more open you are, the more you're going to receive. And the signs are there. They're just waiting, So what you've already done, the work that you've done through meditation, through talking to your loved ones, they love that. That's what they want. They want us to know that they're with us.
I just don't want them watching me.
Right? No, there is.
Can they look down on me and go, "What are you doing there?"
I could tell you a funny story about that, but
Well, tell it.
Okay. Well, a few years ago, my daughter is now married, but when she moved in with her boyfriend about a few years before they got married, and she called me up one day, and they had just moved in together, and she called me. She goes, "Mom, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yeah, honey, sure." She goes, when you tell me that Grandma and Grandpa are always watching over me, and I thought, oh my God, we're going to have this beautiful conversation, and I just was getting tears. I said, "Honey, yes, they are." And she goes, "Well, do they see everything?" And I said, "No."
That would be so creepy.
No. I know. It's like if you just picture drawing a curtain, pulling a curtain shut, there is a sense of privacy.
Okay, good.
And they don't
Good to know.
Yeah, but the other thing is, Spirit doesn't care about the earthbound, the earthly things. It's not, it doesn't, no, but there is privacy.
Good,
so,
good to know.
Just to reassure.
Yeah, there's some things that are meant to be
private.
Yeah. So
Right.
when I hear you talking about your clients and how you work with them to develop their intuition, do you work with people on a regular basis, or is it just
From
like
time to time?
I see you one time and then come back in a year or so?
Yeah, I like to do more individual because everybody's kind of at a different level with that. What I love to do, of course, is the actual session, communicating with Spirit and bringing forward the validation more than anything. And on top of it, which is great, with somebody in grief and very active grief, as they're navigating their journey in grief, it does bring about validation. It brings about a measure of comfort, a measure of healing. I always say grief and healing go hand in hand. And beyond that, they also, what our loved ones want us to know is that they are here to continue to guide us in life. We all have free will. We don't have to listen to the guidance, but they are here to guide us.
Some of that free will gets us in trouble.
Yeah, right. Right.
So when you talked about grief, if somebody has recently passed, is it best to wait a time to, because I know that there's people that have maybe some guilt or shame about what happened, or that they lost this person, they never got to say this, or they never got to that, which I know you can just talk to them.
Right.
But sometimes they'll seek out a medium to help them through
To have
that
some
process.
sense of closure.
But how is it do you recommend right away, wait a year? Or is it just when you feel?
Yeah, so I think that every medium works differently, and I think that there are some mediums out there that will say, wait a year, wait it out. I have not had that experience. I have had the experience that Spirit will come forward. hours after a funeral, hours after their passing, sometimes weeks and months. So what's interesting to me is what I have found through my sessions is that very often they come through the way they were in life.
What does that mean?
They do come through with the way they were, their personality.
Okay.
If they were very strong-willed, if they were loud, if they were, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like forceful,
Aggressive.
They'll push through. They'll come through. If they were a little bit more quiet, reserved, polite, that comes through also. So it really depends, I want to say, on the soul, on the person.
Is it just a feeling you have? Do you actually see it? I mean, how does that work?
So we all have what we call clairs, okay? It's heightened senses, so there's clairvoyant, which is seeing, clairaudient, hearing, clairsentient, feeling. Then there's the smell, and taste. So when I'm in the midst of a session, when I'm engaged in a session, it's all of the above simultaneously. Plus, I write. I do what I call automatic writing, which at the end of the day looks like a lot of scribble. But sometimes things come up on paper, a name might come up, a date, a symbol, illustrations often of objects that they might have of their loved one. And that's more during a phone session when I can't see. So it's whatever I see, hear, feel, all at the same time is what I will pass on. And so then it's almost like playing connect the dots. What are they trying to say? They're trying to validate their presence. A name might come through. They're trying to let us know this is who it is. They want to validate. It's very easy to say, oh, you have a grandmother who loves you so much. Well, that may not always be the case either. Right. But for me, it's called evidential mediumship. For me, as an evidential medium, it's the proof that is very important. That's what's more important to me.
Do you ever, I know this may seem like a weird question, but like you're walking into the grocery store or, is it something you can turn on and off, or is it just when they want to come, they come? Yeah,
so that's a great question. Very often, I just like, when I'm not working, I'm not working. But if spirit wants to come through, and I have had this experience often, they will come through, but more often than not, they will come through to me before I meet the person here on Earth. So very often in the middle of the night, I'll be awakened by spirit. I will get whatever information they convey, and then the next day, somehow, I meet the person, and then I'll...
Wow, that has to be... Like, it had to get... that would have, at the first time, you're like, oh, okay. But it's got to be like... I don't know what the word I want to use, but
happens.
Like surprising or amazing, but incredible. Like, it's just like... Here it happens, and then the next day you meet that person. I mean, that's just...
Well, I'll give you an example. One day I was fast asleep, and a woman woke me up. A young woman woke me up. And she felt to be, I would say she felt to be a teenager. So what I was feeling, okay? And all I heard and saw, so it's what I felt, heard, and saw, was the sentence or the words, she has a tattoo of little blue stars behind her left shoulder. That's what I heard. And then that's what I saw, a woman's shoulder with little blue stars. And I sat up in bed and I went, really? That's all you get me? That's all I got? Like, that's it? And so I write it down right away. I keep a notebook by my bed because I know that if I don't write it down, it'll go away. Right. I'll forget it. So the next day I went to work. I went into my office, and every client that came in, the minute they came into the door, I knew it wasn't them. When I was done working, I went in to get my nails done. I went into a nail salon, and I walked in, and it was crowded, and there was a woman way at the back of the salon getting a pedicure, and it was fall, so she had a sweater on. And I saw her, and I go, oh my God, it's her. Like, I know it's her. So I waited until she was done, and my nails were drying, and I timed it so that I could leave. out the door at the same time as her. And I had never, this was the first time I had ever approached somebody like that. So I was a little nervous. And we're walking out at the same time. And just when we were going to part ways, and I wasn't going to say anything, I felt like somebody pushed me.
Oh.
So I stopped her and I said, "Excuse me." I said, "Can I ask you a question?" She goes, "Sure, yeah, of course." I said, "Do you connect to anything about a tattoo of little, blue stars behind your left shoulder?" And she looked at me, she goes, "What did you say?" And I went, "Oh my God." And I said, and I introduced myself. I told her, "My name is Lynn, this is who I am, this is what I do." I said, "I have a question. Do you connect to having a tattoo of little blue stars behind your left shoulder?" And she looked at me for the longest time, and then she turned around. I thought she was going to walk away. As she turned around, she pulled her sweater down off her shoulder.
Oh, wow.
And the tattoos were there. And then she looked at me and she goes, "What else did she say?" It was her daughter. And right there on a street corner, a lot of other stuff came through for her. And that was pretty amazing. That was pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing.
But the funny thing was, when we did part ways and we went into this huge parking lot, we were actually parked right next to each other.
You were destined. You were destined to come
Yeah.
in contact with her.
Yeah.
What a
We were-
great way to end this.
We were parked right next to each other.
Oh, that is,
So-
it gives me chills. It
Yeah.
gives me chills. But that stuff just really excites me because the more I'm learning about energy and growth and intuition, it's fascinating to know if you just sit within the calmness of yourself
Yeah.
and slow your mind down and just listen.
Yeah.
The answers are all there for you.
Yeah, they are. And like what you do for yourself, Paula, and I noticed right away your necklace,
Yeah.
and that's a Larimar. And Larimar is one of the most calming crystals, most calming minerals, very soothing, very calming, very centering. And I love that you're wearing it. I noticed it right away.
So when I bought this, I was at an art fair and I walked up, I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh, that's beautiful." And then she told me the price tag, and I was like, "Okay." Then my logical brain sets in and says, should you spend the money? Should you not spend the money? And I said, "Just hold it here. Unless somebody desperately has to have it, just hold it here. I just need to go and finish looking around." As soon, I went like right back. I had to have it.
Yeah.
I just
It
had.
called- it
I just had.
tells
To,
you.
I didn't even know what it meant until I got home, and I'm like, "Oh, what was the name of that song?" And I was like trying to figure it out, and so I was googling it up at pop, and I think if I remember correctly, it's very calming, but it also has something to do with the way that it's made. Has to do with volcanoes and the salt water.
That's interesting.
And this is what it produces, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's also very interesting about so first of all, it chose you. Okay, you didn't choose it. You were guided to. Crystals, minerals like that, stones like that, they do have energetic properties and healing properties. And also the light blue of the Larimar. Light blue is your throat chakra. It's your throat center. It's your center for communication. And doing what you do right here, is with communication is very significant.
But that has another meaning to me. I've been working with a coach, and I'm very open and free around certain types of people. But then when I get, honestly, it's dating. When I get in a dating situation, I become this person I don't even recognize. And so she's like, and the stone is all kind of coming into place about how to open myself up and to
That's your center.
to communicate what I'm thinking and feeling, and it's okay. And if they don't pick me, it's just okay, not meant to be, kind of a thing. So when you said that, that's when it's like, no wonder why this called me.
Right.
No wonder why that called me.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I find you extremely fascinating.
Oh, thank you. I find you fascinating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But when you have to end, and I don't want to.
Oh, okay.
I want to keep going and going and going and going.
It was a pleasure.
So how
Thank
does
you.
somebody reach out to you?
So people can reach out to me through Instagram, Medium Lynn Darmon on Instagram. I do have a website, mediumlynndarmon.com, and my phone number is on the website, my email. So
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
I've really enjoyed talking with you.
me too. Thank you so much.
So thank you for tuning in. I actually am at a loss for words. I have so many things going on inside my head and in my heart and in my energy that I'm not really quite sure how to close this out. But if you can get in tune with yourself and get in tune with what your body is telling you, get out of your subconscious, get into the conscious mind,
Yeah.
and to learn, grow, and thrive. I guess that's really what the show's all about. So thank you for tuning in, and we will talk next week. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Unstoppable. Do you have a question for Paula? Send it our way. To schedule a one-on-one consultation, give us a call. Unstoppable is brought to you by Paula Swain and the Financial Center for Women. Dream, grow, thrive.